Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video. Today we're breaking down the Supergirl trailer that was just released. I was actually lucky enough to see this trailer about a week or so in advance, and it was hard keeping it to myself, but now the trailer is finally out. It's the first Supergirl teaser trailer and we've got to break it down. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos later this year. Okay, so let's go through this trailer, let's break it down shot by shot and talk about everything that we see and everything that could potentially be happening in this film and what it all means basically, and any Easter eggs that there are. So the trailer starts with Krypto in Supergirl's apartment, so in Kara's apartment, as a record player, kind of a vintage style record player, plays in her very messy bedroom. It looks like a absolute mess, it's a clutter fest in there, and Krypto is seen walking around. He pees on a Daily Planet newspaper which has Superman on it. Obviously it's a funny way to start the trailer, and it's just kind of representative of Krypto's attitude. You know, he's not the best dog in the world, but we saw this at the end of the Superman film, and the way that her relationship is with Krypto is very different from Superman's relationship with Krypto. Obviously Superman in Superman was just looking after Kara's dog. And so yeah, Krypto pees on the Daily Planet newspaper with Superman on it. It's a funny start. And then Kara drunkenly, who's in bed, she's got all like messy hair, she's got her big kind of hangover glasses, so you can't really tell what's going on underneath there. However, you know this is just like her trying to cover up, but it's just her and Krypto in the scene as she basically drunkenly slash like being all hungover talks to Krypto from her bed as she talks to him about peeing on the paper this time, basically meaning that Krypto normally just pisses wherever he wants, but this time he hit the target, and the target happens to be Superman. So let's talk about the next shot. So it continues by showing us Kara at a cosmic bus stop. We saw this in the teaser of the teaser trailer the other day, as a spaceship slash space bus arrives, because that's what they're going to be traveling on as they go around the universe, because they're going to be visiting many different planets, that being Supergirl, but also Ruthie, who we get introduced to in this trailer in just a minute, so we'll talk about her when we get to her. But yeah, she's waiting at this like cosmic bus stop on another planet. Don't know what planet is, it's probably going to be just totally random, but in the trailer she says, "I, Kara Zor-El, hereby declare that 23 will be the best year yet, but is not a very high bar to clear." And she's talking to Krypto in the space bar that she's in, that is pretty iconic from the comic book, and so they've brought that to life. And I believe this is very early on in the film while she is drinking, because she has just turned 23, she's drinking under a red sun so she can feel the effects of the alcohol, and she is just like drunkenly talking to her dog as she sits at this bar. And this is all before she meets Ruthie, who we actually see in the next shot, who basically in the comics goes up to Supergirl and asks her to come with her on a mission of vengeance to try and kill Krem, who is a villain who basically killed Ruthie's father. And as you can see with her attitude in the kind of bar scene and everything, like she's very relaxed, she's not really caring about anything right now, and that is because she's kind of done with life. She's not sure where she is, what's her true purpose as a superhero, but also as a human. Now she's turning 23 and I guess she's growing up a bit, so these are all questions that she is going to have to reckon with in this film. And at the start she is definitely not wanting to be Supergirl or to be a hero to anyone, but this is where Ruthie changes things. And as she says in the trailer, and I quote, "I didn't know any of you were still alive." And so Ruthie is referring to Kryptonians, so this is obviously after they first met and they start talking about who Supergirl is and her past and everything. She goes on to ask, what's it like to lose everything in a day? And we get various shots of Krypton. So we see this kind of laser beam go up into the air as sort of like a shield appears in a later shot, and it goes up and over what I presume to be Argo City, because normally, as you've seen in the Supergirl TV show with Melissa Benoist, Argo does survive and it's either bottled up by Brainiac or it's just somewhere floating out there in the DC universe. And so in this case, I'm not sure, but apparently Brainiac is going to be the main villain of Man of Tomorrow. So I wonder if we do see Argo City once again in the present day, but over in Brainiac's ship. But that is something that we need to ponder about and actually think about. Could Brainiac be introduced in this film? And there is a teaser for Man of Tomorrow, which will be Superman 2 basically. Or is it Kryptonian countermeasures? Somehow they figured out, obviously Kryptonian technology is very far in advance, and maybe they did figure out a way to save Argo City. But we get various shots of Kryptonians running, kind of in a panic, and you see Krypton on different days, and even Kara on Krypton in her kind of Kryptonian clothes that she wears. And so we're going to see various glimpses into Krypton. And as Kara says, Krypton didn't die in a day, the gods aren't that kind, which then cuts to a shot of Kara screaming in space. So it seems like she is definitely going to be reckoning with the traumas of losing her family, her planet, and everything that was destroyed during that explosion that destroyed Krypton. And obviously, most people in the galaxy don't know about Kryptonians surviving. Obviously, in the comics, there is various people that do survive. Again, Argo City could be a big thing. Potentially, Kara's mum might be around, and we could see her at some point in this film or in the future. Obviously, Superman and Supergirl are the main Kryptonians that survived and made their way to Earth. But seemingly in this trailer, Ruthie is unaware of any Kryptonian surviving, not even Superman, because I guess Ruthie has never been to Earth. Because it must be said, she does meet Supergirl in one of the alien bars on one of the other planets. So that is where they become acquainted, and at first they aren't really a good duo. Like, Ruthie is desperately trying to get Supergirl to come and help her, but Supergirl is very, very reluctant. But it seems whatever happens on one of those planets is going to drive Kara to actually help Ruthie and actually go on this adventure together to try and take down Krem. And somehow Lobo is in the mix of all of this, and we'll get to Lobo in just a second. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Krypton and seeing what it's like in the DCU. Obviously, we got kind of glimpses of it in Superman, but it really wasn't anything more than just like Kal-El's parents and their recording that was obviously leaked to the world. Let's talk about the House of El Cousins and the absolute aura that they have when walking through smoke or lingering there in the sky. Like, you remember that shot in Superman where the building crashes down and there is dust everywhere and he rises from the ashes or rises from the rubble, and it looks amazing. And this shot in the trailer kind of reminded me of that, with Kara kind of frantically at a pace walks out from the smoke. She looks awesome. It cuts to a shot from behind and she is going in there with intent. And this leads up to Kara and Ruthie actually teaming up to fight some alien goons, I guess you could call them, like just various people that they're going to be fighting across the galaxy in different planets in different places, because there's going to be quite a lot of people after them. So this scene actually kind of reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises, and it's just what Kara says, because they're all pointing lasers at them, they're surrounded, and she's like, this isn't going to end well for you. That is literally Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. Like, that is exactly that line, pretty much. And I think it's a cool moment in the trailer, and you get to see the hand-to-hand combat that we're going to be seeing in this film, because a lot of these planets will be under red sun, so Supergirl isn't going to have her powers all the time. But when she does get her powers, if you've read the comics, you know the iconic panels that there are. Like, she's going to be absorbing that yellow sun radiation, and she's going to be using all of her power to take down Krem and potentially Lobo and whoever is standing in her way in this film. And one of the next shots in the trailer is of Ruthie as she unsheaths her sword, and man, that is such a sick move, like just pulling it down from her back into the front, and she's just about to absolutely go through some guys, and I love that. I love we got this kind of Game of Thrones style action that potentially we might be seeing, because really that's what the comic reminded me of. There is iconic panels in that comic book of Supergirl wielding swords and Ruthie wielding swords. So yeah, that was a cool moment in the trailer where I was like, okay, like we actually might be somewhat comic book accurate here. Obviously we know they're going to be making quite a few changes, but I do want them to stay somewhat faithful. So also in the trailer we see Kara using heat vision. That is the first time we've seen that. Obviously when we saw her at the end of Superman, all we saw was her basically showing up half drunk and collecting Krypto, and that's pretty much it. But we get our first look at Lobo, and he looks like he's been ripped straight out of the comic. He looks awesome. Obviously, it's just a really short shot in the trailer, but just looks-wise, Jason Momoa, he looks like Lobo, and I had no doubt about that, to be honest. So yeah, looking forward to seeing Lobo and seeing how he kind of gets involved in this story. But there is definitely a bunch of weapons that look very similar to the weapon that Lobo normally uses in the comics, so I wonder if any of like the goons that they're going to be facing off against are like part of Lobo's gang or something. That could definitely be a possibility. And Ruthie in the trailer asks about Superman and what he's like, and Supergirl says, "Superman sees the good in everyone and I see the truth." I feel like that is a great line. It really does kind of remind me of what type of Supergirl we're going to be getting, because she is a darker Supergirl. She's gone through a lot, and compared to Superman, who didn't really go through so much because he didn't witness Krypton's destruction. He was a baby at the time. He just has this kind of upbeat attitude, and you saw that in the Superman film. He always sees the good in everyone, but Kara is able to see the truth because she understands on a different level. So I think overall the action looks good, and I think the tone is a little bit quirky, but there is an edge to it, and I think that edge is going to be the most exciting part of the film, because I can tell it's going to go dark and it's going to be violent. There is going to be blood. I don't know how much blood they can show in the 12A, but the comic book is definitely, you know, somewhat graphic. So yeah, it looks cool. The Supergirl suit, let's talk about that, because in one shot in the trailer she floats in the air in front of the sun and she is revealed, and the Supergirl suit looks awesome. We talked about it in the last couple of videos, but yeah, I really love the details on the suit. I love the colors. I think going for the skirt is a great choice because it's just very iconic, and she just looks like a great superhero. And then you see Supergirl actually in costume fighting a bunch of people with what looks like to be Lobo's chained hook. And yeah, that pretty much does it, guys. Like, what do you think of this Supergirl trailer? Let me know down in the comments below if you enjoyed it. I'm very much so looking forward to hear your thoughts, because I'm super excited to see Supergirl. I can't wait for June. So we're going to be making lots more Supergirl content over the next month and beyond. So stick around so you don't miss any type of DC content. I've got lots of videos up on the channel from the last week or so go ahead and check those out if you haven't watched them. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. But for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.